The Asian Wine Association of America's mission is to champion the wines and the heritage of Asian American and Asian vintners in the U.S. through advocacy, community engagement, and professional development. And we want to foster an inclusive environment that celebrates diversity in the wine industry.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Wine, Whiskey and the Weed Show, a podcast where we explore the latest trends, challenges, opportunities that shapes the alcohol and beverage industry. I'm your host, Ankita, and I'm really thrilled to welcome someone who's making meaningful waves in the US wine landscape. So joining me is Susan Arlen, Master of Wine and President of the Asian Wine Association of America. A fresh and exciting initiative that has aimed to uplift and unite the Asian wine community across the country and across the globe. So Susan, first of all, welcome to the show. I know we have been interacting before and we had shared a lot of conversation, but it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Ankita. It's so wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see you and to be interacting with you and everybody at Beverage Trade Network. And I want to thank you so much for your enthusiasm and interest in this initiative for Asian Wine Association of America. It's really exciting to be speaking with you.
I know, because I believe that association was launched officially last month, which is incredible. The thought is amazing. It's a powerful idea, I would say. And let's start with that. Let's start with the thought and the idea that you had in your mind before you started the Asian Wine Association of America. So where did you notice the gap? Where did this idea or the inspiration came that there is something which is missing?
Thank you for that question. It's really from, a group effort, a team effort, a concept of having an industry association for Asian American and Asian-owned wineries in America had been talked about and conceived even before I officially joined this effort. And it was thanks to the voices of dedicated individuals in the industry that led to a movement that really began to make this a reality. But I have to say that as an individual, in the wine industry, we just want to be people who want to be making it in the wine industry.
True.
And we don't really perhaps think about does my heritage have anything to do with this or anything else? We just want to, be the best that we can be. And, it wasn't until later that I realized, and actually interacting with you and Sid and everybody at Beverage Trade Network and USA Ratings actually helped me realize this as well, that there are a lot of Asians in the wine industry and we're doing really important things.
That's true.
And I think it's just incredible, the legacy that, we have not only historically, but also how we're shaping the wine industry currently today. And as I looked into this, I was absolutely amazed by just how much I had to learn about how Asians have been shaping the wine industry in America since the very beginning. And it's just mind-blowing. So from an individual perspective, that is pretty much what I would share there. And to see that there isn't an association, there isn't a support group that, for Asians is pretty surprising, actually. And it was, not just me, as I was mentioning, many diverse people, such as industry luminaries like Dr. Liz Toch, Master of Wine, who is the president of the Market Council. Yes. Yeah, to winemakers like Jane Aitong Jiang of Duncan Peak Vineyards, and other industry veterans and winemakers. I could go on in this representation of Asian Americans and Asians in the U.S. wine industry. And, disparately on our own, we began to reach out to Asian American and Asian-owned wineries in the U.S. to gather perspectives to see, is this something that is relevant to you? Is this something that would be welcome and useful? So, it really kind of was an organic effort that came together with many different people.
So, it's very surprising because I think the market, the entire Asia in general, is propping up to be one of the biggest opportunity for everyone across the globe. So it's very enticing to see that how this association is going to play such an important role by sitting in US, because that's where the resources are. That's where you're going to push it in a nice way. So if I have to ask you, Susan, what are the key initiatives that you guys are thinking that lays the foundation? Like what what is the main agenda of this entire association?
Asian is a very diverse group, right? And like,
That's true. That's true.
how do we
Yes.
meet that? How do we support that? And I think really the key is to be as welcome and open, as inclusive as possible, and knowing that we all are in the wine industry, and those who are producing wines want to make the best wines possible, coming from wherever they are and their perspective and their heritage brings to whatever that they will to that, and to be able to support that, and also the next generation that wants to succeed in the wine industry and helping them do so. But to take a step back, we worked very hard on our mission statement because we wanted to, make sure that this was an organization that could serve the needs of U.S. Asians in this country, to be able to succeed. And we talked to many, many, many people, winemakers and other folks in the industry, and the Asian Wine Association of America's mission is to champion the wines and the heritage of Asian American and Asian vintners in the U.S. through advocacy, community engagement, and professional development. And we want to foster an inclusive environment that celebrates diversity in the wine industry. So we really want to know that, by uplifting diverse voices and championing diverse voices in the wine industry, it can only help the industry as a whole to know that there's more people and more types of people who are meeting this same general goal of wanting to be great makers, to be great people and contributors to the industry and beyond, and to recognize the contributions of Asians in the U.S. who are doing this.
I'm sure that there are always going to be some challenges or some sort of pressing situations which will be faced by Asian wine community, let's say, in the United States. So is this association is going to address all those things as well?
Well, for sure. I mean, we want to have that sense that a rising tide lifts all boats, that if we can encourage people within the Asian wine community in the United States, and to be able to help them to bring their wines to a wider audience, not only among the general population of wine, but also to Asians. So it's really amazing that this aspect for the industry overall is that currently there are estimated to be over 200 Asian affiliated wineries in the United States.
Wow.
And according to the Wine Market Council, around 5% of U.S. wine drinkers are Asian. So that's a pretty small amount, but is actually over 4.25 million consumers. That's not insignificant.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So having Asians embrace wine as much as the average American who is a wine drinker could lead to a significant amount of new wine drinkers. In fact, by the Wine Market Council's numbers, over 100,000 new wine drinkers. And with the census of the amount of Asian restaurants, this could be a lot more engagement with Asian restaurants with more extensive wine lists. And we're already seeing great examples of this happening in certain places. And we intend to study those and to talk with them as case studies to see where their perspectives and how they have built successful wine lists, and to be able to see how that we might be able to help educate and encourage others to do the same. So this is one thing that, for sure, bringing wine to Asian cultures in a way is something that is very important to us. So that's part of one of our guiding pillars, if you will, that have arisen from that we've built out from our mission statement in terms of, what are our goals. So, tariffs itself, there's a whole lot we can do there, but at the same time, there's so much we can do culturally and socially, right?
Correct. Correct. So I really love the point that you made here and in your mission as well, and that is how you can professionally develop, how there are resources for professional development. So how do you see it that it will support the professional within the community? Like, give us an example to what are your plans to foster this statement in the mission?
I think, this, again, wanting to help winemakers to be able to get their wines out there in front of more people, because there's a huge diversity among Asian winemakers, not only in heritage and background, but also in size, and some are really, really small. They want to be able to just produce several hundred cases a year, but they would love to be able to share their wines with others. Maybe they don't have the same sort of marketing budget to be able to help get themselves out there, and that's what we want to provide opportunities for producers like this to be able to give them that venue and to be able to present their wines in fun, engaging, and innovative ways.
Right.
We want to do, just beyond the regular tastings, even though that's valuable too, to be able to showcase, the large, significant wineries as well, who may not necessarily need the resources that Asian Wine Association of America wants to offer, but at the same time, it's really important to have their representation. So we're working hard on engaging everybody because their trailblazing for the community will definitely help to provide that kind of impetus and inspiration and momentum for the rest of the community. And we hope to be able to do this, as mentioned a little earlier, with the opportunity with Cuisine, is to collaborate with lots of different restaurants, especially Asian restaurants, to be able to provide some really interesting and fun pairing events to be able to showcase the different types of
the Asian wines,
characteristics and diversity among wines that are produced by Asian Americans and Asian-owned wineries in the United States. And so that's something we really want to focus on because, again, it's a cultural phenomenon, and we really hope that this will also help uplift wine and bring wine more into the community, as the wine industry is having an admittedly challenging time right now.
That's true. I think that's a fantastic initiative because you are just not showing the Asian wine culture, but you are actually pairing it with the culture which is residing in USA of the Asian community, which is amazing. As you rightly said, that Asian heritage carries a very unique culture and they have a lot of regional expressions as well. So how do they distinguish themselves with the established regions like California, Oregon?
Yeah, I think that was such an interesting question because I hadn't actually thought about it in that way before. And I think that's really valuable. And I think this really depends on what producers you're referring to, whose wines you're referring to, because there are a great deal of different approaches and styles, depending on the producer. Some wineries are focused on making quality wines of that place, such as Russian River Valley. They want to make the best Pinot Noir and Chardonnay in Russian River Valley because that's where they're making wine. But they're bringing their own sensibility to it from the heritage which they have come. But then others may be introducing unique cultural aspects of their heritage. And one of my favorite examples that was in the news recently in the Press Democrat was Kazumi Wines, which is the first U.S. producer of koshu, which is a wonderful grape native to Japan. And it's absolutely exciting to see that Michelle Sakazaki, who is the owner and the proprietor winemaker for Kazumi Wines, is on our newly formed board of directors for Asian Wine Association of America. And it's just fantastic to see that, she's being a trailblazer in her own right, being the first U.S. producer of koshu, which is something that's a very reflective perspective and approach that, want to do something as challenging as it is to produce quality wine. That's true for everybody who wants to produce wine, right? It's a tough thing to do, and you don't go into that lightly. So they will bring their own perspective, and their own cultures will inform the sensibilities in terms of their winemaking. And this can really make a difference, even if, it's not obvious from the surface, even if it's not obvious from the branding, it's, I was talking to certain winemakers who have had their families have been making wine in the United States for several generations, since even before the tragedy of the Japanese, internment camps in the United States. And they've survived through that, and they're continuing to make wine in subsequent generations. And it's absolutely mind-blowing to me that, these folks are the ones that
legacies,
we really want to get out there and to show how much of a fabric they are part of America. But, in speaking to them, they're like, oh, well, we really think of ourselves as American. Like, does it matter that we're Asian? And I said, that's a really good question, harking back to what I was saying earlier, that, we're just trying to be our best in the world that we're living in and to create the best and, forging our own identities. But, he reflected later that, his heritage does have a lot to do with the way he makes wines and the way that he approaches things. And so, it does make a difference. And I think this is something that we can really highlight and to show, not necessarily as, perhaps a difference, but as a true value in what Asian winemakers can bring
Correct.
to wine
Correct.
in the United States and beyond.
We all know that we have been recently throwing a lot of thought to let's grow wine, let's go grow this category because we do see that it's been a little bit going down. We have been talking about the no and low alcohol category as well a lot. So are you doing anything to engage this millennials and Gen Zs?
That is true. That is true. And I love the fact that you bring up no and low and just changing perspectives on wine. And one of the things that we hope to accomplish with Asian Wine Association of America is that by showing the world that with more diverse faces and more diverse voices appearing more often in the industry, we hope that this will help engage more people to explore wine. Like you mentioned, people are looking for stories that they can relate to. They're looking for authenticity, right? That's all we hear from the surveys and the research that we get, starting from millennials, Gen Z, and beyond. And they want authenticity. They want something that they can look behind the scenes and see that this is something that is real. We got this in absolute just. There's so many stories here and so many voices of these winemakers and producers who are Asian American and Asian owned wine producers in the United States. I mean, personally, just getting this far in establishing this nonprofit trade organization, I have spoken with so many winemakers. And so many people who are involved in making these wineries possible. And I'm just astounded by their stories. And I'm learning something new every day. And their stories are so inspiring. I cannot tell you, like it humbles me so much to be working on something like this. And I just think every day, how can I and our board of directors and everybody working on this, how can we do justice to this and make this what we really, this community wants it to be. And as mentioned earlier, we'd like to focus on bringing wine to Asian cultures in a fun, engaging way and via, interactive tastings and cuisine experiences in the community. And we actually also want to collect data as we go along with our programs and events and to make it sort of fun for people as they go along. So they have kind of maybe not like a treasure map or something like that, but something, some tasks that challenges that they could do. And then we would take that data and start to build a little bit more, of a database on, what some of these trends might be, right? Because if you look at data, I mean, especially with having the insight from Wine Market Council and other, like Nielsen, IQ, there's lots of data on US wine consumers, and there's some data on Asian consumers, but Asian wine consumers is very, very limited still. And of course, because the absolute numbers are, as we mentioned earlier, right? But if we can get more than the 4.25 million consumers and others, enjoy wine. Yes. And this is not just us trying to get people to enjoy, to drink wine for the sake of drinking wine. We feel that, the cultural integration is so important because, as you know so well, culture is so inherent to us, and it's something that's important to us. And cuisine often plays such a huge part of this. It's how people gather, it's how people bond. And so we really want to encourage collaboration within the community between wineries and Asian restaurants and any restaurants that want to learn or interested in learning how they can benefit from wines made by Asian Americans, or to be able to pair cuisines with wines, because so many restaurants now that have Asian inflected qualities to their cuisine, even if they're not an Asian restaurant per se, right? So
that's right.
So these are opportunities. There's for an educational component, just to be able to share and to be able to share our passion for wine and for the community that we are bringing together in an even more cohesive way. So these kinds of collaborations are what we hope will foment and inspire increasing engagement with wine.
You have been interacting with a lot of winemakers. You have been listening to their stories. And I'm sure when you're briefing them about this association, which is coming, which already is an idea, which is in live now, What are their needs? What are you able to sense from them?
Based on these conversations, we put together the mission statement, and we actually put together a set of guiding pillars that are supposed to, help us to be able to reach our goals and to be able to help us make the important decisions when we reach those inevitable forks in the road when we have to prioritize. And one of them is, as you just mentioned, to uplift. So uplift, right? So one of the challenges was just recognizing the vital contributions that Asians make to the wine industry, right? Some of the winemakers I spoke to, they were like, we are very proud of our heritage, and maybe it's not the most important thing the most important thing is we want to produce beautiful wines, but we also want people to know where we came from and what our heritage is and how that advocates for a culture of excellence and quality. And so what we want to do is to be able to champion that while promoting all voices within the wine industry, regardless of ethnicity. So anybody who wants who supports diversity and inclusion and more voices, being able to get these stories out there, we welcome that. And we want to uplift also by empowering the next generation, as you mentioned, by offering professional development resources to Asian Americans pursuing careers in the wine industry, so that, if they for some reason, are facing any challenges, whether it's psychologically and emotionally coming from any sort of particular background, to be able to encourage them through ways that are not only, psychological and emotional, but also to help them financially if needed, right? Through grants and scholarships eventually. So this is something that we'd like to be able to put together so that we can pay it forward and make sure that we are enabling the next generation to succeed and to continue this wonderful passion that we all have in the wine industry and continue to see it thrive, especially in the United States with all these different diverse people. That's one aspect. And then, of course, the other main challenge, especially for smaller winemakers, is, again, for them to get their wines in front of more people. So promotion and marketing is going to be a very, very important aspect.
That's great. Yeah.
Yes, for Asian Wine Association of America. And so, again, some of these promotional opportunities I was talking about, and not only engaging trade professionals, but also the general community, to be able to welcome them and engage them to see, wow, these are wines that are being created, and by whom, what are their stories, and how do they fit into my life? How do they fit into my culture? And to learn about other cultures as well in the meantime. So we really want to help them gain visibility and thrive in the marketplace via such opportunities.
How can someone work with Asian Wine Association of America, be it a sommelier or, let's say, a wine enthusiast? How can somebody get engaged with your association?
Thank you so much for asking that, because as a fledgling nonprofit organization, we really are just getting off the ground. Like you said, we only officially announced our launch weeks ago. It's very exciting that there's still so much work to do, and we definitely need everyone's support as much as possible as we build our membership and we build our funds to be able to provide the resources that we have. So absolutely, we are here to champion the contributions of Asians in the U.S. wine industry, and we welcome anyone who supports our cause and initiatives. And we are working on launching our official membership right now, and we will have different types of memberships that we hope will be accommodating to and work for people from all walks of life. So whether you're a student, we know you don't have much of a budget, so it's fine. We will absolutely, have a very discounted rate for you, but you'll be able to have the access to the networking and, to all the professionals who are part of this directory that we will be building, and this early opportunities to participate in events and to know about events, and to the career resources, obviously, that we want to offer. And also, for winemakers, for people in the industry, whether you're a sommelier, you're a retailer, you're a distributor, there's a place for everyone. And you can be a friend. You don't even need to be in the wine industry. Right. You can support us in any way possible. And so if you're committed to diverse voices in our industry, you're excited about initiatives that bring Asian American wines to Asian cuisines and beyond, to enriching diverse cultures, with passion and joy of wine and that bring people together. I mean, now in the next generation, please join us, and we would absolutely welcome you to our membership. So it's something that we're really excited about, and we want to make, again, very inclusive, and to be able to support all the wineries, of course, and the winemakers to be able to succeed and thrive in this marketplace, but also everyone who is in the industry, and to support Asian Americans in the wine industry wherever they are, and in the hospitality industry, and anyone who wants to be part of this effort and who believes in this. It's absolutely exciting to be doing this, and it's definitely a labor of love. We are all volunteers at this point, so
That's true.
Yeah, it's until we are able to get more funding. We actually have a GoFundMe page that I can do a link for. We're trying to raise some money just to cover the logistical costs of like the legal fees of incorporating as a nonprofit trade organization, and to set up all the logistics that we need, and be able to start really having traction for events and getting our winemakers out there.
Now, listening to you and you being so passionate about this entire nonprofit organization, I know you started with music and then wine became your second love. And I'm sure this association is on its path to do something really big. And as you've been a master of wine, that holds a very big value when it comes to the Asian community as well. And I'm sure that more this association is going to grow. There are people from the Asian market will also be looking up to this association to see that how they can integrate being present in Asia, but would really love to be a part of it. So what is the global presence that are you thinking? Is this association just going to work for in the boundary of being in US, or you are open for the Asian community also helping out and reaching out and seeing what's happening in America, let's say?
I know that as you as a wine professional and Beverage Trade Network is so engaged in global the wine community and the restaurant community, and so this is so important. And as we gain traction, absolutely, we want to be able to collaborate with people overseas and the winemakers. And there's so many amazing producers and wine professionals in Asia. I know that they would love to have more opportunities in the United States, and vice versa. I mean, some of the people, the winemakers I have been speaking with, they actually have, business and operations bringing American wines to Asia or Asian wines to America. I mean, this is a global economy and a global sharing of passion for wine. And, in the end, we all want to share what we love. And I think that we absolutely will not be constrained by any such geographical indications. Yeah, it's all about sharing and to be able to learn from each other. And I think it would be absolutely valuable in the future for us to have that sort of cross-pollination of ideas and continuing of linking our heritage, and to be able to share back and forth and to grow and become something greater than the sum of its parts.
So thank you so much, Suzanne. Love the idea. I am sure that this association was very much needed. I'm really happy for all the people that you have on the panel, and every one of you who came with this idea that there is a need of this. It's time that we should bring this inclusivity, and we should bring this entire association in a way that not only helps people who are already, but also it motivates people who would like to come into this entire industry of, be it hospitality, be it the restaurant, or be it the wine business. So really love the idea. Any message that you have for the community that you being one of the founder member who you would like to give to them, or you would like to speak to them directly?
Oh, to anybody who is listening to this, well, thank you so much for your interest and enthusiasm. And we really, really would love to have your support and to be able to learn more about you so that you can help shape us as we grow, and to become the association that is meaningful and helpful and of value to you, our community. So whether you are a winemaker, we are definitely looking to build our membership of winemakers and producers so that we can represent you, and to represent as diverse as possible of all the Asian winemakers and Asian American winemakers in the United States. But if you are in the wine industry and you are interested in our efforts, and whether you are Asian American or not. I mean, please do get in touch. We have an email address, info@awaawine.org. You can feel free to contact us there, and would love to be able to share more with you and to hear your stories and to have you join us so that we can create something really meaningful and really special. But as we grow, we would definitely want to hear your voices, and we would love to have your support. So thank you so much.